Om Ajnanatimrandasya Jnanjala Shlakaya Chakshurmilitam Yena Tasmai Shigurave Namah. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Pastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namine. Namaste Saraswata Devi Gauravani Pacharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paskachai Desatarane. Srila Prabhupada Ki. So we are in Nectar of Instruction discussing verse 5, verse 7, I mean. That I will read the verse again. This verse and the next verse is about the chanting of the holy name. And this verse explains how the chanting of the holy name is the remedy, the cure for our disease of material attachment. So I read the verse again. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Shyat Krishna Nama Charita Didishita Pravityam Pito Patapta Rasanaya Naricho Kanu Hinta Darat Anudinam Kaluseva Justa Svatvi Kamat Pavitatat Katamulahantri. The translation. The holy name, character, pastimes, and activities of Krishna are all transcendently sweet like sugar candy. Although the tongue of one is afflicted by the jaundice of avidya, ignorance, the tongue cannot taste anything sweet. It is wonderful that simply by carefully chanting these sweet names every day, a natural relish awakens within his tongue, and his disease is wholly destroyed at the root. So we were just starting the paragraph in the purport where Prabhupada starts really to speak about the chanting of the holy name. But here. So there are 3 stages of the holy name of the Lord. The offensive stage, the states of lessening offenses, and the pure stage. When a neophyte takes to the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra, he generally commits many offenses. There are 10 basic offenses, and if the devotee avoids these offenses, he can glimpse the next stage, which is situated between offensive chanting and pure chanting. When one attains the pure stage, he is immediately liberated. That is called Bhava Maha Davarni Nirvapanam. As soon as one is liberated from the blazing fire of material existence, he can relish the taste of transcendental life. So, these 3 stages, they are explained in Harinam Sintamani, a work written by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, in the form of a dialogue between Srila Haridas Thakur, the Namacharya, and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the Supreme Lord. And in that dialogue, Haridas Thakur says there are 3 stages. The apparat stage, Prabhupada writes in the purport, in the beginning we commit many offenses. Apparat. When we give them up, we go to the next stage, which is Namabhas, or the clearing stage. Then our heart becomes cleansed from all our material attachment, not all our material desires. And when that cleansing process is finished, one comes to the pure stage of the Suddha Nam. That the Suddha Nam is the pure name, the pure stage. And then great taste will come, and we will become attracted. And from then, by Krishna's mercy, we will advance very quickly. But first, we have to go to the first two stages. That if one has achieved the highest stage, which is the pure stage, one is situated in Suddha Sattva, that purified goodness or transcendental goodness, that in the lower stages, Namabhas and Aparat stage, that one identifies still with the body. One tries to act as a servant of Krishna. But this identification with the body is caused by the duality of this world in which we are absorbed. We are absorbed in what's good for the body and the mind and what's bad for the body and the mind. We try to avoid distress. We even try to avoid death, but we are not very successful at the end. And we are absorbed in what's good and bad for the body. Spiritual life means becoming absorbed in what's good and bad for the soul. And that is the beginning of spiritual life, understanding what's good for the soul, what's bad for the soul. Therefore, after text 2 of Nectar of Instruction, we heard what's bad for the soul. That Atyara Payasasya Prajalpan Yamagama Jana Sangha Salavyam Sa Satbir Bhakti Finashati. 6 items that destroy bhakti. And then in text 3, we have heard 6 items which are favorable for bhakta. Utsa, Nisaya, Daya, Tatat, Kama Pavartanat, Sangatyara, Sato, Vite, Satvir, Bhaktir, Prashidati, 6 items that help us in bhakti. So we have studied this in this Nectar of Instruction. And if one follows this, then one really will come to the offensive chanting. That giving up these offenses is not easy. They are deep-rooted. We make offenses because of bodily identification. That is also explained in the previous verse. As we see a devotee from a bodily concept of life, we make offenses. Therefore, it's so important when we chant the holy name that we are also hearing the Bhagavatam. We are hearing the Bhagavatam, then clearly we get the transcendental knowledge which is required to transcend this neophyte stage. That, of course, it is called, Lositanya said, Bhavamada Vagni Nirvapanam, Cheto Darpanam Archanam Bhavamada Vagni Nirvapanam. The Cheto Darpan, the mirror of the heart. It must be cleansed. Bhavamada Vagni Nirvapanam. It stops the blazing fire of material existence. Because it destroys all these material desires. What's the cause of our inauspiciousness is our attraction to the material energy, trying to exploit it. Then we become frustrated and so on. But that begins with desires, meditation on how to enjoy the body and the mind. But bhakti means meditation on how to please the senses of Krishna. That's completely different. And a different mentality. But if we read the Bhagavatam, we read the 10th canto, also there we enter into the consciousness of the Vrajavasis, the pure devotees. And also Prahlad Maharaj and so on. We start to understand, if we hear it, what is pure consciousness or transcendental consciousness. Someone asked me what's the difference between sattva, goodness, and Suddha sattva, transcendental goodness. Goodness in this world is the absence of passion and ignorance. So then one is in goodness, peaceful. But this is not Suddha sattva. Suddha sattva, transcendental consciousness, one enters after the heart is clean. Because Suddha sattva is our transcendental energies, not material energies. There are three material energies: rajas, tamas, and sattva. There are three spiritual energies, but they have nothing to do with each other. The material and the spiritual energies. But the spiritual energy is Sandini, Samvit, and Ladini. Three parts. Sandini is eternal existence. That's unknown in this world. Only the soul is eternal. Eternal existence. And Samvit means transcendental knowledge, the realized transcendental knowledge. And this combination of these two energies, Bhaktivinoda Thakur explaining it in his book, is Suddha sattva, transcendental goodness. So that transcendental goodness one can only attain after liberation in the highest states. But first one must go to Namabhas, cleanse the heart, and give up these offenses especially due to offenses towards devotees, offenses towards the scriptures, offenses towards the holy name. So one should be very, very careful. Sometimes we think I'm not become purified. There must be something wrong with the holy name. Does it have really the potency? But the holy name has unlimited potencies as Krishna. But these potencies will only be manifest to you if we give up our offensive mentality. So one who commit offenses is a neophyte, Prabhupada says. But Haridas Thakur says, one who gives up the offenses and comes to Namabhas, he attains the stage of Kanishta, beginner. So Kanishta begins from Namabhas. Before one is a neophyte or lower, Prabhupada says a neophyte takes to the chanting of Hare Krishna and commits many offenses. In the beginning, it's like that because we have this exploitive mentality which we carried with us for many, many lifetimes. You cannot give it up at once, but by the chanting of the holy name, gradually we become aware of it. If you become aware of it, then you can give it up, you can do something about it. If you are not aware of it, that's a problem. But when we hear the Bhagavatam, we become aware of it. We see stories of others who were not aware of it and became aware of it. Like Ajamil commits sinful activities his whole life. But then he had a near-death experience, and he heard a conversation between the Yamadutas and the Vishnudutas from Vaikuntha, and the Yamadutas, who were the servants of Yamaraj, the Lord of Death. Their service was to take sinful people to the hellish region. And the Vishnu, because Ajamil at the end of his life called his son, who was Narayan, and he was chanting the holy name Narayan. And then he has committed so many activities, and at the time of death, the Yamadutas came and said, "Oh, a sinful person, we will take him before Yamaraj." And the Vishnuduta said, "No, you cannot take him, don't touch him. He's without any sin. He chanted the holy name without offense." That Namabas. Why? Because he had no intention, no wrong intention when he chanted the holy name. He was only calling his son. It's Namabas, but Bhaktivinoda Thakur said it's the low status of Namabas. But it's nevertheless not Namabas. So chanting the holy name without material desires, without a desire without any desire, any material desire. Because many times we chant the holy name, but inside we hope that our lives will be without problems in this world, that we will get better and better our material life. But that's not the purpose of the chanting of the holy name. That material life is miserable, and that remains like that. But by chanting and absorption in the holy name, without offenses, we become absorbed in the holy name. And as such, we don't experience the life of the body anymore, but the life of the soul. That I remember always our Guru Maharaj, Bhakti Maharaj, at the beginning of the parikram in Mayapur said that, we have now arrived in the spiritual world. Continue chanting the holy name and become absorbed in the pastimes. Don't come down again with your consciousness. So we have to be very careful what we absorb our consciousness in. Careful that everything we do should be related to Krishna. This is very important. That don't come again back down to the bodily consciousness. That but our material desires, our anarthas, they hold us back. We cannot do it because we are too attached to what's happened of our situation in this world. Arjuna was also too attached. He could not fight against Bhishmadev, his grandfather, but he had to. It was his duty. But that attachment that made him unsure about following Krishna's instructions. But yes, we have to want to be free from this material attachment. We have to want it. We may have material desires, but we must want to be free. But we are like a madman and embracing a tree and saying, "Let me go, let me go, let me go." But he's holding to the tree. Then the spiritual master comes, he says, "But you are holding on the tree, and just let it go." And that requires an effort. Hearing the Bhagavatam and chanting as a combination, that will help us to come out of this vicious circle, because it's a vicious circle. Because of our anartas, we cannot come to the stage of namabhas, of chanting without offenses. That and because if we chant with offenses, we are not becoming purified of anartas. So how to get out? The answer is mercy. Mercy we get by following the instructions of the spiritual master strictly. So we should also hear the Bhagavatam regularly. This is Prabhupada's instructions very clearly. Here, every day, have a morning and an evening program. These are his instructions. Morning Bhagavatam, evening Bhagavad Gita. And that will help us. But the chanting itself will free you from material desires if we get free of these offenses. That it's the only way in this age. Prabhupada has his conclusion here. The conclusion is that in order to get freed from the material disease, one must take to the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra. The Krishna conscious movement is especially meant for creating an atmosphere in which people can take to the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra. One must begin with faith, and when this faith is increased by chanting, a person can become a member of the society. We are sending Sankirtan parties all over the world, and they are experienced that even in the remotest part of the world, there is no knowledge of Krishna. The Hare Krishna mantra attracts thousands of men to our camp. In some areas, people begin to imitate devotees by shaving their heads and chanting the Hare Krishna mantra only a few days after hearing the mantra. This may be imitative, but imitation of a good thing is desired. Such imitators gradually become interested in being initiated by the spiritual master and offer themselves for initiation. Momentum. Yeah. And offer themselves for initiation. If one is sincere, is initiated, at this stage is called bhajana kriya. One then actually engages in the service of the Lord by regularly chanting the Hare Krishna mantra 16 rounds and refraining from illicit sex, intoxicants, meat eating, and gambling. By bhajana kriya, one attains freedom from the contamination of materialistic life. He no longer goes to a restaurant or hotel to taste so-called palatable dishes made with meat and onions, nor does he care to smoke or drink tea or coffee. He not only refrains from illicit sex, but avoids sex life entirely, nor is he interested in wasting his time in speculating or gambling. In this way, it is to be understood that one is becoming cleansed of unwanted things, anartha nivritti. The word anartha refers to unwanted things. Anarthas are vanquished when one becomes attached to the Krishna conscious movement. So Prabhupada says many things. So this Krishna consciousness movement is meant to attract people and associate with devotees, sadhu sangha. And from the devotees, they learn bhajana kriya, how to engage in devotional service, chanting, following the principles, and hearing the Bhagavatam and so on, Bhagavad Gita, and And suddenly they naturally lose their taste for these illicit activities, that they don't care anymore, Prabhupada says, for smoking or drinking tea, eating meat and onions. That so the anarthas are vanquished when one becomes attached to the Krishna conscious movement. So attached to Krishna or the Krishna conscious movement, Prabhupada said, and that being attached to Krishna means one becomes detached from the material energy. So that's the most important thing. If one becomes attached to Krishna, one thinks of Krishna, man mano. And that is the primary instruction for all of us. Always remember Krishna and do not forget him. That is the point we have to come. That then the unwanted things will go quickly from our heart, cultivating that attachment. To cultivate that attachment, we have heard in the previous verses, very important, that text 4, association of devotees, is very important. By association of devotees, we become it's much more easy to become attached to Krishna. If we don't follow text 2, the 6 items which are destroying bhakti, then we will not become attached to Krishna, nor will we become detached from Maya or the illusory energy or everything in this material world. That interesting is when I remember when I came to Krishna consciousness, to practicing Krishna consciousness, I lost my taste for so many material things that you want only to read Prabhupada's books, no interest in all the other things anymore. It doesn't give happiness to the soul, to the heart, that only some good feeling sometimes in the mind. But that good feeling, that's our enemy. That we have to be very careful with the mind. Further, when a person is relieved from unwanted things, he becomes fixed in executing his Krishna activities. Indeed, he becomes attached to such activities and experience ecstasy in executing devotional service. This is called bhava, the preliminary awakening of dormant love of God. Thus, the conditioned soul becomes free from material existence and loses interest in moment. Yeah, when a person is relieved from unwanted things, he becomes fixed in executing Krishna activities. Indeed, he becomes attached to such activities and experiences ecstasy in devotional service. That's a high stage. This is called bhava, preliminary awakening of dormant love of God. Thus, the conditioned soul becomes free from material existence and loses interest in the body conception of life, including material opulence, material knowledge, and material attraction of all variety. At such a time, one can understand who the Supreme Personality of Godhead is and what Maya is. So becoming fixed in executing Krishna activities. That is wanted. And that organize our life from the morning till the evening, that we have only Krishna activities. That our worldly duties, we have to learn to dovetail in Krishna consciousness or execute in a Krishna conscious way. That then gradually, when one becomes purified, one becomes attracted to Krishna, one feels Krishna in the heart, and then this bhava comes, spiritual emotion. So then one has entered already deeply the Suddha Sattva of the transcendental stage. And normally when you reach that stage of bhava, you will not come back to the material stage. Thus the conditioned soul becomes free from material existence and loses interest in the bodily conception of life, including material opulence, material knowledge, and material attraction of all variety. At such time, one can understand who the Supreme Personality of Godhead is and what Maya is. We see in the Bhagavatam when Narada Muni advised his disciple Srila Vyasadeva to write a Bhagavatam, and to write a Bhagavatam instruct him to meditate with devotion on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So he had this bhava, and he concentrated on the absolute truth, on the personality of Godhead. And what were his realization? So Prabhupada writes here in the purport that we read, at such a time one can understand who the Supreme Personality of Godhead is and what Maya is. So, yes, I'm reading his realizations of Srila Vyasadeva when he started this meditation. Bhagavatam 174. Bhakti yogena manasi samyak pranite male apasyat purusham purnam mayam satat apasrayam. Does he fix his mind, perfectly engaging it by linking it in devotional service, bhakti yoga, without any tinge of materialism? So that is what we are speaking about. That is bhava. And thus he saw the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So when one is in Suddha Sattva, one can see the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But he did not see only the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He saw also his external energy, Maya, which was fully under his control. So that is a realization of what Prabhupada writes it. Here, at such a time, one can understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead and what is Maya is. Unless we come to that stage, we don't have that realization. It's just theoretically. But what is that stage? The stages of realization are described in the second chapter of the first canto. That the process is described starts with Nastabe Sabatrasu Nityam Bhagavata Sevya Bhagavata Uttamaske Bhakti Bhagavata Naistaki. He says, by regular attendance of the class of the Bhagavatam and by rendering service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome in the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. So all of this troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed. That is namabhas. Namabhas, and one at the end, all material desires are nearly completely destroyed. Because hearing about Krishna and by chanting his holy name, hearing his holy name, what happens? That then Tatorajas Tamobhava Kama Lobhasayasati Sitere Teranavtam Sitve Sattve Prashidati. That from the moment this desire to serve Krishna enters the heart, then the effects of the modes of nature diminish. The effects of the mode of passion, which is lust, desire, hankering, it disappears from the heart. And then when it comes to goodness, and we become really happy because we are detached and attached to Krishna, attached from the material energy and attached to Krishna. That is then when it comes to the border of Suddha Sattva, that that is a process that usually takes many years. We have it's said in the third text of this nectar of instruction that Utsaya Nisya Daryat, one must be enthusiastic, confident, and patient. It doesn't happen overnight. The process of devotional service, Rupa Goswami said, is a slow process, but a certain process. It works. Like every day, we look in the mirror, we see our face, and we think it's the same face as yesterday. Nothing changed, but something changed. Because if after 5 years you look, you will see a big change already. That we are changing. We are chanting every day. We chant our rounds. We change. That gradually these layers of false ego are peeled off in our heart, and we come gradually to our real self. And when we come to that point, then Evam Pranasamanasa, we become peaceful. Bhagavat Bhakti Yogata, we are very enthusiastic to perform devotional service. Then Bhagavat Tattva Vijnanam, then we get realized knowledge about Krishna. Mukta Sangrachayate, then you attain liberation, come to Nishta, is liberation. Evam Pranasamanasa, peaceful. But then it's at that moment, Vidyate Hridayekrantis, the heart knot of attachment in the heart to this material world is destroyed. That Sityanti Sarvasamsya, all your doubts are gone. You see Krishna, you see the goal very clearly, you see the material energy. That Kshiyanti Sasya Karmani, all your karma is gone. Tristva Evat Manishvari. Then you see Krishna and you see Maya and you know what is what. So that's the process. Once we are at that stage, then I think this is the last paragraph, we will read it. Although Maya may be present, it cannot disturb a devotee once he attains the Bhava stage. This is because the devotee can see the real position of Maya. Maya means forgetfulness of Krishna, and forgetfulness of Krishna and Krishna consciousness stand side by side like light and shadow. If one remains in the shadow, he can enjoy the facilities offered by light, and if one remains in light, he cannot be disturbed by the darkness of shadow. By taking to Krishna consciousness, one gradually becomes liberated and remains in the light. Indeed, he does not even touch the darkness, as confirmed in Chaitanya Charitamrita. Krishna Suryasam Mayahaya Andakara Yan Krishna Tanai Mayara Adhikara. Krishna is compared to sunshine and Maya is compared to darkness. Wherever there is sunshine, there cannot be darkness. As soon as one takes the Krishna consciousness, the darkness of illusion, the influence of the external energy, immediately vanquish. So the chanting of the holy name is the main method to attain this. We combine it with hearing about Krishna, and hearing about Krishna from Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, and by doing that, we are by hearing, we gradually give up our offenses against the holy name, and we become stronger in the chanting of the holy name. that and healthy, we become attached to the chanting and attached from this world. That we combine it also with deity worship, which makes us attached to the transcendental form of the Lord, which becomes which comes placed in the mirror of our heart, so that we cannot forget Krishna. So this is so beautiful, this process, that it's slow, but it's certain that once you take fully to Krishna consciousness, Prabhupada said you are dragged home back to Godhead. That if you are sincere, you will go back to Godhead. So we need that confidence. Time may be there, but we will get our goal. That and the chanting of the holy name, in the beginning, we don't have taste, but as we become purified, the taste increases. That is the test. Am I making progress in the chanting of the holy name? If our taste increases, yes. So we should be very careful, especially with committing offenses, especially towards the spiritual master. We commit offenses to the spiritual master if we are not following his instructions, because that will not please the spiritual master. And the spiritual master is a representative of Krishna. So that is very important, because that's where the mercy comes from. If the spiritual master gives his mercy, is equal to Krishna giving his mercy, and we become quickly purified by trying to please the spiritual master and engage in his mission. So this was text 7. Next time we will begin with text 8, and text 8 is very nice. There we will hear more, we go more in deeply in the process of the chanting and in the holy name, which Srila Prabhupada, based on the teaching of Rupa Goswami, describes it very nicely. That Hare Krishna. Any questions, comments?
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Yeah.
Hare
Thank you very
Krishna.
much, Maharaj. Thank you very much, Maharaj. Nice explanation. So, after hearing these different stages and what happens, it feels like it is very distant, and then it feels like, it is not achievable. And then, at least I feel that, oh, maybe, I cannot try these because, these are, so much far away. And then there is no motivation to achieve that. Let's continue what we are doing, and then maybe in future sometimes, I will get purified, sometimes I will go to the next stage. So how to come out of that cycle?
Well, I would say that you have 9 stages in the holy name, and the higher stages after liberation, you have Nishta liberation, Ruchi, Ashakti, Bhava, Prema. 5 stages. We progress to these stages by the mercy of Krishna, and they go very quick. So the first stages from Shraddha, Sadhusanga, Vajnakriya, and Anartha-nivritti, they go very slow. It takes 80% of the time. So we should be aware of that. Once we get liberation, we become Madhyamadikar. It goes very quick. Therefore, to come to Madhyamadikar, we should act as a Madhyamadikar and try to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead, make friendship with devotees. That's text 4. That of nectar of instruction, and then after making friend, and this friendship deepens, and then gradually we learn the process of devotional service. We practice devotional service, Bhajna Kriya. But that is a long process, and it's most of the time. But within that process, there are also sub-stages, we can say. First is attaining steadiness in devotional service. My experience is that practicing devotional service correctly is not so easy. You must strictly following. But if you follow strictly, you will feel satisfied that you don't have attained liberation, but you feel satisfied in what we do. And yes, as we make progress, our heart changes. And when we make progress, we think that we are not making progress, that we are going backwards. Well, that's a good sign. Then at a certain moment, you become hopeless. It's hope against hope. And we pray to Krishna, please help. But this is a normal evolution of the heart. You have to go through it. That like Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he says that he says, I gave up all hope. I don't care to take rebirth. What can I do? I'm such fallen. As long as I've been born in the house of a devotee, even as an insect, he said. It's quite a radical statement. That because in the house of a devotee, I will be able to hear about Krishna. So it is a process of surrender. You come to a point, and you come like Lord Chaitanya. He said, "Yeah, I don't want followers. I don't want association with the opposite sex. I gave it all up. I don't want it anymore, and I don't want also liberation. I don't want it anymore. I just want to serve you birth after birth." Striving for liberation is also a material attachment. You have also to give it up and say to Krishna, I'm your instrument. Do with me what you want. That you want me to suffer, you want me to serve in that way or this way, or you give my body pleasure. Whatever you want, I'm your servant. I will be satisfied. So we have to come to that point. That when we come to that point, we pass the test. After that, from that point, we will feel satisfied in the most disturbing situations. It's a gradual process, but we should never give up. The fact you feel fallen, you feel that you are not progressing, is factually good. That's a natural stage we have to go through. And we see also Haridas Thakur is saying the same thing. Factually, because this is from Bhaktivinoda Thakur, I was just preparing that. He's saying that, yes, first stage you have to know Krishna. Without knowledge of Krishna, of yourself, of the relationship of Krishna, you cannot attain Krishna. It's not possible. That's the beginning, but then you have to get to know Krishna more deeply. And therefore we have the Bhagavatam. We get to know Krishna more deeply. How he reciprocates with his devotees. And then we must start to understand the third item Bhaktivinoda Thakur said is to understand the process, how we can awaken this love for Krishna. That because yes, we think we are not making progress because the mind feels bad, this feels bad. These are all material considerations the satisfaction of the soul or the nice feeling in the mind are different things. We are not there to get a nice satisfaction in the mind. That will not happen. Happiness and distress will continue to come. But we have to transcend it, to go above it. And therefore, it's important we understand this process of awakening Krishna consciousness. Therefore, Prabhupada explained it so deeply in this verse, the process, understanding the process. That's the first principle Bhaktivinoda calls it. And then we understand what's favorable and unfavorable for bhakti. And then we can direct our lives towards making spiritual advancement factually. But this wisdom comes to the heart gradually. That in Anartha-nivritti we live like a life of on material platform. We have all these frustrations, all these things. But this is not so important in our lives. Not so important. It's all temporary, all these frustrations. You get out of the body, what do you do with your frustrations when you're out of the body? It doesn't make sense, all these things. So we need an out of the body experience by becoming Krishna conscious. And then you see the world as, okay, it's a puppet show. It's coming here and that. It's that happiness and distress. This person said this and that and reaction and all these things. But frankly, it's not so serious. But it's a process. We have to be patient. What can I say? Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Maharaj. Just to summarize, Maharaj, so you said first step is to know Krishna. Second, to understand the process, how we can go closer to Krishna.
No, the first is that we need knowledge. We need to know who we are. And we need to know who Krishna is. We need to know who we are, not on the surface, but deeply. And the second point is we have to know Krishna deeply. And the third point is we have to work on our relationship with Krishna, which is devotional service. And the fourth point is knowing what's good for our spiritual life, what's bad for our spiritual life, and act as such. And then we can make spiritual advancement. Because it's not just theoretically. Like the first point, I have to know myself. Sometimes I hear devotees who are chanting for many years. They say, at a certain moment they say, but we are still human beings. It's wrong. We are not human beings. We are spiritual beings after so many years. So it's not easy to come to that point, that we have the body of a human. We play the role, but we are not. That's wrong. Because if you think you are the body, you think you are the mind, you take the mind very serious, all these things, and the mind gets affected, get diseased, get disturbed. That's Bhagavad Gita 2:44. Bogas varya prashaktanam taya parita setasham. By all these material desires, the mind becomes so disturbed, and no samadhi. You cannot think of Krishna. So it's even that first point. Prabhupada many times, we are not a body. I repeated it every time practically. We had to hear it again and again, because we hear it, we are not a body. The next moment we act as being the body and the mind. And there we go. So these 4 points are quite deep points.
Yes, Maharaj.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Good. Thank you so much. Then our next lesson is on Wednesday, Srimad Bhagavatam, text 38, right? Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.